What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some tips that should help you aim better with assault rifles in Fortnite Reload and just manage the third-person bloom-based ARs better. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below what your favorite AR is so far in Fortnite Reload. So, Fortnite Reload has a lot of like older weapons from Fortnite, mainly chapters 1, 2, and 3. And with the third-person assault rifles, the bloom ones, your shot can basically go anywhere within the reticle. It's basically like you're hip firing at all times, but these weapons are hit scan. You don't have to worry about bullet drop. You don't have to worry about bullet travel time. When you shoot the weapon, it's like the bullets teleport wherever they're gonna go. But as I said, the crosshair basically indicates a range that your bullets can go in. There's a dot in the center of the crosshair, but as you're shooting the weapon, that dot doesn't really mean much. The only time that dot is incredibly relevant is when you have no bloom at all. If you're standing still and you wait for the dashes in your crosshair to reach that dot, then you have first shot accuracy and your shot will go exactly where that dot is. But as you shoot the weapon, the crosshair expands and then your weapon becomes less and less accurate until it reaches the point of max bloom. And this is how the mechanic of bloom works. So the crosshair looks like a square, but I think it's best if you were just to make it a circle by connecting all of the dashes. And then that's basically the range, or like the area that your bullets can end up in. So you need to basically at all times be filling as much of your crosshair as you can with the opponent. That way you're more likely to hit a shot. Like if 50% of your crosshair is occupied by the opponent, you're 50% likely to hit shots. If only 10% of your crosshair has the opponent in it, then you only have a 10% chance at shots. It's not like that specific in terms of math, you know, when you're in the middle of a fight, but that's just a way to think about it. You want as much of your crosshair as possible filled with the opponent, and then you're likely to hit shots. So the skill in using these bloom weapons, and I do think there is a degree of skill to them. Everyone just likes to say, oh, it's bloom. It's just completely random. There's no point in worrying or thinking about it. It's just random. And I think that is a bad mindset to have, because I think the skill in using these weapons is not only going to be tracking the opponent and staying on target, but managing the size of your crosshair based on the situation. Like, let's say the opponent is pretty close to you, like 25 meters away. At that point, you can probably just full auto your AR and still hit a majority of the shots. But if they're very far away, let's say 80 meters away, you're probably going to need to tap fire and, you know, constantly wait for first shot accuracy, because if you have first shot accuracy and shoot once, you'll get it back really quickly. So you can just like consistently tap fire and tap fire and tap fire. And if you get used to timing like the first shot accuracy resets with when you tap, you can shoot, you know, not very fast, but somewhat quickly while perfectly accurate. So if they're very far away, you're going to need to do that. But if they're pretty close, you can full spray and it's no big deal. And then also, I feel like if the opponent is moving really fast, you're probably also going to want to tap fire in that situation. An example of this would be like if someone's shockwaving or crash padding away, I'll probably start to tap fire as they get further away, because their character, you know, as someone is closer to you, they're larger, going to take up more of your crosshair, where if they're further away, their character is going to be smaller and take up less of your crosshair. And then that's even more true when they're moving, you know, very quickly. And then the same is true of your movement in these situations. In close to medium range, you can just strafe and it's probably going to be no big deal. But in longer ranges, you're probably going to need to like stand still or even crouch to make your weapon even more accurate, because not only does shooting expand your crosshair, but moving also expands your crosshair. And if you're crouched, your max bloom isn't as large as if like you're standing or moving. So like all these things kind of contribute to the size of your crosshair. And I think managing the size of your crosshair for the situation you're in is the skill in using bloom weapons. If someone's 80 meters away, like we talked about before, and you're using a regular AR and you just full auto it, you could be like, oh, it's just bloom, it's so random. But like that's also partially on you for choosing to full spray your AR in a situation that wasn't viable to be full spraying. If you don't want to think about this stuff really at all, the hammer AR is kind of an exception to this, because its max bloom is not very large. It's still somewhat of a factor, but it's significantly more accurate than the regular assault rifle and the heavy assault rifle. So if I'm using the hammer AR, most of the time I will just full spray and it's going to be completely fine. I would still tap fire if someone's like really far away, you know, or maybe not paying attention to me yet. I would maybe like go for headshots while tap firing, and then once they start to move, you know, full spray and aim for body shots. But most of the time I use the hammer. I just full auto, and I think it works quite good. And to be honest, my personal favorite assault rifle in Reload is the hammer AR. I think the accuracy is just very good. And it's kind of like something that Fortnite started changing over time. The hammer AR is a chapter 3 weapon, and I feel like chapter 3 onward, they kind of started to make the bloom based ARs more accurate and kind of less RNG, if you want to describe it that way. So that's good. And as we get more weapons in Reload, or the loot pool changes and we start to get more chapter 3, 4 weapons, I think we'll start to have more accurate ARs. One mistake I see a lot of players making when it comes to full spraying their ARs, or just using the bloom weapons in general in Fortnite, is going for headshots. And I know this sounds like wrong, because a lot of times you think going for headshots is going to be extra damage. Why wouldn't you want to go for headshots? But the mistake a lot of people make is that they put that dot that's in the center of their crosshair, they put that on the opponent's head, and then they just full spray, again, from probably a decent distance away. And that dot is the center of your crosshair. And so if the center of your crosshair is like on the opponent's head, most of that top half of your crosshair is just going to be on the area above the opponent, and you have no chance to hit that shot. And like I talked about already in the video, the skill in using these weapons is maximizing how much of the opponent is in your crosshair by managing the sides of your crosshair. So if you're full spraying and half of the crosshair is just occupying the area above the opponent, that's like 50% of your reticle that you don't even have a chance to hit the opponent with. So if I am going to be full spraying the AR, I try to put the dot in the center of the crosshair, maybe on the opponent's like upper torso neck area. That way that top part of your crosshair still has potential to hit the opponent in the head, but you know, you're not having the like entire top half of your crosshair just be above the opponent with 0% chance to hit them. So that is one thing that I feel like sounds intuitive. You put the dot on the opponent's head, you go for headshots, and it works. But if you're full spraying the bloom weapon, having that mindset, I don't think is very good. If you're tap firing or bursting, or you know, the bloom isn't very large yet, then you can go for that. Like I talked about before, maybe if you're tap firing, you go for headshots, and then as you start to full spray, then you pull down a little bit and make it to where, you know, that dot is upper torso, maybe neck area, and then more of your crosshair surface is actually on the opponent. And that is something I will do pretty regularly, where like maybe start with headshots, and then as the weapon becomes less accurate, we just go for body shots. That way we're more likely to actually hit those shots. Another thing that I feel like is just kind of odd, and I don't really know how to describe it, is going to be crouch spamming. This is going to be repetitively hitting your crouch button while you're shooting. For some reason, using the bloom third-person weapons in Fortnite, crouch spamming has always just felt like it like makes my gun more accurate. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's like an aim assist thing or some weird problem with the game. But if I'm in like, you know, 40, 50 meter range AR fight, crouch spamming I feel like works pretty good a lot of the times, especially with the SMGs as well. Just any of these third-person weapons, if you're going to be spraying them, I feel like crouching up and down somewhat helps with the accuracy. Like I said, I don't really know how to describe it. And then also it can make it harder for the opponent to hit you, which can also be pretty good. But just like accuracy wise, it's always felt like to me that like something is going on there. So you know, take that, you know, with a grain of salt or whatever you want with that. Maybe try it out and see if it helps you. And then one final thing I want to talk about, or one of the final things I want to talk about, is that a lot of the more recent weapons, like in chapter 4 and 5, especially chapter 5, bloom isn't that much of a factor. Like even if you don't have a sight on like the combat AR this season or the enforcer AR, you can full spray those and it's gonna be fine. So for modern Fortnite, this isn't as much of like a skill that you need to worry about or focus on. But for playing Reload, I think this is a big deal. But even if you don't like playing Reload, Chapter 2 OG is probably going to be a season later this year. It was on the roadmap. A lot of the things on that roadmap seemingly have been true. So learning this now and getting accustomed to this will make it easier for you to play when that is like the main kind of BR mode for the season. If you're someone who refuses to learn this and, you know, you don't like Reload for whatever reason, then it's going to be harder for you to play when Chapter 2 OG is kind of the season for its time, you know? But if you kind of learn how to use these weapons now and get used to them, I think it's going to be much easier for you to adapt to Chapter 2 OG later this year. And if you guys were around during Chapter 1 OG, last November, I'm sure there's a lot of you that can vouch for like how much of like a drastic difference it was going from the Chapter 4 ARs to Fortnite OG, where it was like Bloom third person weapons. And if you had been more accustomed to using them, you probably would have been, enjoying the OG season more. But that's just my thoughts on it. I would recommend getting used to it and trying to improve at this and not having the mindset that it's just completely random, because, Chapter 2 OG is coming later this year, but also who knows what they'll do with like the meta of Fortnite going down the line. Maybe Chapter 6, Bloom is more of a factor again, and it's something you got to manage. I feel like it's once you get the skill and the mindset of kind of managing it correctly, it's much easier to adapt if it does come back at some time in the future. But like I already talked about in the video, if you just don't want to worry about this or not think about this as much, the hammer AR, you could full spray a lot and it's probably not going to cost you very much. And then also the infantry rifle is currently in the reload loot pool. And this is a weapon that is it's single shot, but it has basically first shot accuracy all the time. So if you do want an accurate weapon, that is a trade-off you can make. It doesn't have that great of a fire rate. It doesn't have a good mag size, but damage and accuracy on the infantry rifle is very good. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. It's kind of like a hard topic to talk about because Bloom is random, but I think there's a degree of skill to minimizing how much of that randomness is going to impact your game. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.